Hello, ladies. Thank you for joining us in Far Above Rubies today. I'm so very glad that each of you are here. Today, as we continue our walk through Romans, we are talking about Romans chapter 10 and the thought, their own way. Their own way. Verse 3 of Romans chapter 10 says this: For they did not understand God's way of making people right with Himself. Refusing to accept God's way, they cling to their own way of getting right with God by trying to keep the law. If you haven't noticed a theme yet in the book of Romans, it's over and over. Paul is telling us that the law itself, just the law of itself, is not going to make us right with God. It's not going to get us to heaven. There is something more that has to happen beyond just checking the boxes of Christianity, beyond just the rules and the regulations that we create even for ourselves. There has to be something more. When Jesus walked this earth, his main source of friction and contention was not with sinners. It was not with those who did not know God. It was not with those who had never had relationship with God. It was with the religious people. That's who Jesus had the most friction and contention with when he walked this earth. It was as if the religious people said, okay, if we just keep all of the laws that God gave us and we add, quite a big mountain of laws on top of his laws, and we keep every single one of these to the T, then we'll be right with God. We can earn our way into being right with God. And you know what happened whenever they did this? They missed the very presence of God in their midst. Jesus was walking among them. He was God incarnate, God in the flesh. That's what the scripture tells us over and over again. And yet they missed it because they were worried about, did he check the boxes of their Christianity, of their faith, okay? By doing this, they missed the presence of God among them. Why? Because they sought rules over relationship. They sought rules over relationship. They sought rightness over righteousness. They sought image over intimacy. And when we start leaning in those directions, when we start falling in the direction of, rules are better, rules are more important than relationship with God, we start turning into the Pharisees and the Sadducees. We start turning into that religious sect that Jesus railed on time and time again in his day because they cared more about image, their piety, than they did intimacy with God. They cared more about being right than they cared about being righteous, all right? We don't want to do that. We don't want to go that way. We don't want to fall into those same traps. We don't want to say, okay, God, I know you gave us these things to follow in your word. I know you gave us these things to stay away from, but I think I'll try to keep those, and I'll add a mountain of rules and regulations on top of those for myself, and I'll just focus on those things. And if I just focus on all of those rules and regulations, God, then surely I will be right with you. Surely I can make it to heaven just by keeping the law. Instead of saying, God, I want to know your word, and I want to know you so much and so deeply and so intimately that I not only keep the law, but I live it out loud. I go above and beyond, not in creating more rules and regulations, but I go above and beyond in saying this is no longer an I have to, but this is an I get to. There's a mindset shift that happens when we begin to seek relationship over rules, not ignore the rules that are actually in the Bible, but when we begin to desire relationship over rules, when we begin to desire righteousness more than we desire rightness, when we desire intimacy with the Lord more than we desire our image to be perfected. Okay? May we never fall into the trap of clinging to our own way above God's way. Go and read Romans chapter 10, and if no one has told you lately, you are loved and you are cherished. You are valuable. You have beautiful, tremendous worth, my friend, and that worth is far above rubies. Thank you for being here with me today, and I will see you all again tomorrow. God bless you.